Hi, this is Mr. Payton. Welcome to the Science of Everything, episode 17. Today's famous person, scientist, explorer I'd like to share with you is Mr. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson's become pretty famous in a time where we're making movies about sci-fi and aliens and travel, and in a time where space travel has almost been successfully commercialized with some of the things that Elon Musk is doing and some of the things that Jeff Bezos is doing. Someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson has really benefited from what I would say everyday people now having an interest in something that was only reserved for nerds and geeks many years ago. Dr. deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. You might be wondering, what in the world is that? Now, astrophysics is obviously looking at outer space, but what it does is it combines the elements of chemistry, which has to do with our periodic table and the elements, and the concepts of physics, which has a lot to do with motion, and tries to help us understand our place in the universe. Now, the universe being the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, and all those kinds of things. Dr. deGrasse Tyson has published quite a few different pieces of literature, most notably one called The Pluto Files in 2009. And for a lot of people who maybe aren't up on that debate, there are many scientists, he being one of the major ones or one of the more well-known scientists, has classified Pluto as a dwarf planet, which means it's no longer part of our understanding of what the planets are in our solar system. Now, just briefly to understand that, they basically concluded that because of the way that the planets orbit, Pluto doesn't seem to have a consistent one. And because of some of the other characteristics of it, scientists have concluded that maybe it's not a planet after all, and it just kind of got caught up in our gravity. But nevertheless, the idea that regular everyday people are having discussions about planets is exceptional for people like me who are in education and also as a lover of science. It's a big deal. Dr. deGrasse Tyson has had a lot to do with making the conversation around science, particularly outer space, common. He also published a piece called Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey in 2014. And it's just the idea that these kinds of things are now part of our conversation. The way that politics are part of the conversation, the way that religion is part of the conversation, the way that we talk about social media. That's kind of what Dr. deGrasse Tyson has done for astrophysics. I mean, I remember going to school back in the early 90s, and I can't recall a person talking about astrophysics at all. I remember if you said astrophysics, that means you were like the smartest of the smartest of the smart people, and you were almost like unrelatable. And I think, although he's done amazing things in academics, again, he's popularized the conversation around space, has talk shows, one called Star Talk, has done various appearances, done lots of different things, worked for NASA and all of that. I think Dr. deGrasse Tyson's most valuable contribution is, in some ways, the conversation has been elevated. It's now okay to talk about things like space. It's okay to talk about planets. It's okay to talk about how the universe was created and how it's continuing to evolve. And I think that's a good thing for society. I think it's good that we have an intellectual or even just an academic interest in the world at large, including our universe. And so I have always been very impressed by Dr. deGrasse Tyson. I have a few advanced degrees myself, but I can't imagine that in his field of endeavor, what kind of courage it took. And also his personality. Like, you have to have a personality to be able to make something that is really difficult and complicated, absorbable, something that people can actually comprehend. And so I just feel as, again, as an educator, as a person who is interested in science, for someone who teaches science, that we need more people like Dr. deGrasse Tyson, more people who are willing to get outside of the lab, as it were, and get outside of the academic conversation and be willing to share content with people at large. I think the more that we share information like that, the better our world can be, because it'll give us a better understanding and a better perspective on why we should continue to study, why we should continue to fund scientific research and things of that nature. Now, I must say, the fact that he's a man of color for me personally is even more so impressive because, again, being in these fields, I know how difficult it is to just be heard, and also how difficult it is to gain respect in these areas, because the idea sometimes is that maybe you were given an opportunity because you represent an underserved population. Well, it's very clear that Dr. deGrasse Tyson knows his stuff, and that people pay attention to the fact that he is such an expert. And so he's just a leader all around, and a person that I will continue to watch and pay attention to and support by, watching his content and purchasing his literature and things like that. So I hope that learning about Dr. deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, was valuable to you. If nothing else, maybe just learn something new, something you never heard about before. I hope that you are enjoying the science of everything, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.